Hi, welcome to The Whining Housewife. It's been a little while since I've seen you, but my kids have been here visiting, and so I've been spending time with them. But this is their last night here, and I'm going to be making them a very special traditional Southern meal. We're going to start off with a cocktail of mint julep. Very Southern. Then we're going to go to Southern fried chicken, some beautiful fried fresh okra, and top it all off with some macaroni and cheese, homemade, baked in the oven, just like they do in the South. I'm really excited to have you with me, so let's get started. So now I'm going to be making our classic Southern mint julep, and it's a really simple recipe. There are only 3 ingredients. The classic recipe calls for a simple syrup. I'm going to use agave syrup today, so that's going to be substituted for the simple syrup. First, I'm going to be starting with my mint leaves into the bottom of my glass, and you want to tear these up fairly well because you want the mint flavor to come out in your mint julep. It's all about the mint in this recipe. So I'm going to tear these up really well. This is I'm going to do about 10 torn up leaves in here. Really infuse that mint flavor into our drink. All right, that's in there. I'm going to go ahead and put a tablespoon of agave syrup in here. And I'm going to put two shots of bourbon. So you want a nice, strong drink. I'm going to mix that up, and that's going to go into our glass that has been chilled down with some ice. As you're sitting in the sun, this beautiful ice is going to melt and kind of dilute the drink, and it's going to become a beautiful, beautiful drink for a sunny day. So one of the biggest things about this meal is the timeline, and you want to make sure you get your timeline correct so that everything finishes up cooking at the same time. Right now what I'm doing is I'm boiling my water, and you want this to be well salted. I've gone ahead and salted it, but you want it to taste like the sea. You don't want just a pinch of salt. You want a good amount of salt in there so that your macaroni is well seasoned. Next, I'm going to be chopping up my okra, and this is some beautiful fresh okra, and I'm going to be chopping these into about 1/2-inch slices. I'm going to be cooking it in cornmeal, and I'm going to be frying it very well done, because that's how my grandmother did it. And you don't want such thin slices that they just kind of turn to mush and disappear. So you want about 1/2-inch slices. I'm going to go ahead and get this chopped up and put in my bowl, and then I'll see you in a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and get ready my dredging flour for the fried chicken. In here I have 2 pounds of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a teaspoon of garlic powder, a little pinch of ground red pepper, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of poultry seasoning, a teaspoon of celery salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 pinches of salt. 1, 2. Then I'm going to mix that up really well. And my dredging flour is ready to go for my fried chicken. So I've got my macaroni boiled, and it's just al dente. You want to make sure it's on the al dente side so that when you bake it, it doesn't get too overdone. I've got 1 pound of macaroni here cooked. It's still warm, and you want it still warm because when you put your cheese in, you want the cheese to be able to melt. So I'm putting in 4 cheese Mexican blend, and I'm putting about, 4 cups in there, maybe more, maybe less. Let's see. This is a 4-cup package, so yeah, we'll just throw it all in there. And then I'm putting sharp cheddar, and we're gonna put about 2 cups of sharp cheddar in here. Nice and cheesy. And then you wanna mix it up just so that it starts to melt a little bit. And then we're going to add in our milk mixture so that it makes a baked macaroni and cheese. Oops, making a mess. All right. Once that cheese is all incorporated into your macaroni, you are going to mix 2 cups of whole milk into your bowl. 2 cups of whole milk. You're going to mix in 1 12 fluid ounce evaporated milk. Again, making a mess. It was that mint julep, y'all. 2 eggs. Salt, and you're gonna want about 2 pinches of salt, 1, 2, and pepper to taste. Now I usually use quite a bit of pepper because my family likes pepper, but you want your pepper to taste. You're going to mix this up and then pour it over the top, and we're gonna throw it into a 375-degree oven to bake for about 45 minutes. So I poured my milk mixture over the top, and it's not quite to the top of the macaroni. And if you have this situation as well, what you want to do is just pour plain milk over the top until it is filled up with your milk mixture. And it should look just about like that. When you're done, you are going to take a stick of butter and you're going to place pats of butter on the top of your macaroni and cheese. 1 stick should do it, but if it's a large pan, it might take more. But you're just gonna place them right on top to keep that macaroni nice and moist. Once I'm finished with this is gonna go into my, like I said, my 375-degree oven for about 45 minutes. Just until it no longer jiggles in the middle when you shake it. And I will show you what it looks like when it comes out. So in my pan, I am putting shortening, and I'm gonna do half shortening, half vegetable oil, just because I like the way that shortening fries up chicken. I am doing an entire can. And this is a 42-ounce, 2-pound can of Crisco. The reason I'm using so much is because I have a huge pan here. I'm going to be frying a lot of chicken for my family. Yours may take less shortening. It may take more depending on the size of the pan. But basically what you want is for the chicken to be covered when you put it in your pan to fry. So I've got my Crisco in there, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in my vegetable oil. All right, and that was about half of a 48-ounce bottle. It may take more, but I'm gonna see how that melts down and see where it comes up in my pan, and I may be adding more in just a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my cornmeal into my okra, and I'm doing about a cup of cornmeal, but you just want the okra to be covered when you mix it up, so you want it to be nicely coated. I've got my cornmeal in there. I'm gonna stir this up, and it has been sitting with the salt for about an hour now, which is perfect. My oil is heating up on my stove, and so that is just about ready to go. You can see that the okra is nicely coated. Now this is not batter fried okra, this is cornmeal fried okra, and it is different because it's not quite as thick on the okra, but you just want a nice coating. So I'm gonna test my oil in my pan to see if it's hot enough just by taking a little bit of this cornmeal, just a pinch, and throwing it in the pan. And you can see that it's not bubbling, so this oil is not quite ready yet. I'm gonna let it get a little bit hotter, but I am gonna test my oil for my fried chicken just by doing the same thing. A little bit of flour into the pan, and that's bubbling up just a little bit, so it's just about ready for the chicken to go in. So let's get started dredging our chicken. I've got my dredge, my flour dredge. I've got 2 cups of milk and 3 eggs in this bowl. And I've got my chicken. I've just done chicken thighs. If you're new to frying chicken, it might be best to do all about the same size pieces, because that way they get done about the same time. So I'm gonna take my chicken, I'm gonna dredge it in my flour and lightly coat it. It's gonna go into my milk batter and then back into my flour and get that nicely covered. Shake off all the excess, and that can go straight into my pan, and let's hope it's hot enough. And it is. Yeah, there we go, it's bubbling, it's doing nicely. So I'm gonna continue doing this and getting all of my chicken. You don't wanna overcrowd your pan, so make sure there's enough space around your chicken that it's not overcrowded. Do it in batches, and you wanna check the temperature with a meat thermometer to make sure that it is the right temperature. So you can hear that beautiful chicken frying, and I'm going to fry the chicken until it gets to about 165 internal temperature, so make sure you take that temperature. You don't want it to be raw in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and put my okra into my pan. Now I've got vegetable oil in the pan, just to coat the bottom of the pan, so you want it a good amount. And then I'm gonna throw my okra in here. And you kind of want to get the okra without all of the extra cornmeal in there, so just kind of spoon it out into the pan. There we go, perfect. You can hear that sizzle, and that is what we want. Okay. So this cornmeal is going to absorb a lot of this oil. If you need to add more oil, you can. But what you're looking for is this to get nice and crispy and beautiful, and it does take a little while, so just keep watching it and minding it and turning it as it's frying, because you don't want to burn one side and not get the rest done. All right, that's all mixed up with the oil. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil to this and get that going. There we go. It's all about how much cornmeal you have in here. If you've got a lot of cornmeal, it's gonna take a little more oil. If you've got just a little bit of cornmeal, it's not quite as much. And you want your heat on a fairly high temperature, but you do want to really mind the okra so that it doesn't get burnt. All right. So our Southern Farewell dinner is done, and it's all ready. Our mac and cheese is looking beautiful. Our mahogany fried chicken is gorgeous, and we've got our fried okra down at the bottom. Thank you so much for joining me on The Whining Housewife. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button below, and I'll see you next time.